He ruled an empire and yet doubted himself daily. Marcus Aurelius was not just a Roman emperor. He was a philosopher-king, a man entrusted with the fate of millions, yet humble enough to question his own thoughts in the quiet of the morning. He could have ordered armies to silence his enemies, but instead, he picked up a pen and wrote to himself, not for history, but for discipline. And from those writings, centuries later, we learn the most powerful Stoic lessons not through commands, but through reflection. The first lesson, control your mind, or it will control you. Marcus wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." He didn't say you might find strength. He said you will, because strength is not about what happens to you. It's about how you frame it. Most people live as slaves to emotion, to distraction, to circumstance. But Marcus reminded himself daily that the mind is a battlefield, and peace is won through daily command of thought. The second lesson, accept the present moment fully. Do not waste time on what you cannot control, he warned. The weather, the opinions of others, the chaos of politics, none of it could touch his inner world unless he allowed it. Marcus trained his mind like a soldier trains his body. Morning after morning, he returned to the page to recenter, to remind, to recalibrate. His life was not free of pain. He buried children. He faced war, plague, and betrayal. But he did not let those things define him. He saw them clearly. Then he responded with intention. The third lesson, be strict with yourself and tolerant with others. Marcus didn't demand perfection from the world, only from himself. He knew people would lie, fail, cheat, disappoint. He expected it. And that expectation freed him from resentment. Because if you expect the world to be fair or people to be perfect, you'll spend your life in outrage. But if you accept reality and focus on your own behavior, you grow unshakable. This was his way. Steady, quiet, disciplined. Not cold, but clear. Not indifferent, but prepared. The fourth lesson, wake up with purpose. Marcus began each day reminding himself that he would meet people who were selfish, angry, jealous, and deceitful. But he also reminded himself that they were human, and that their behavior could not rob him of his own virtue. He wrote, "When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, I will meet with interference, ingratitude, insolence, disloyalty, ill will, and selfishness." That's not negativity, that's preparation. By rehearsing reality, he armored his mind, so that when the chaos came, he wasn't surprised. He was ready. This was the Stoic habit of premeditatio malorum, premeditation of adversity. Not to dwell in fear, but to train the spirit. The fifth lesson, live each day as if it were your last, but not recklessly, intentionally. You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think, he wrote. Not to frighten himself, but to clarify his actions. When death is acknowledged, ego dies with it. You stop wasting time on petty things. You stop delaying your dreams. You stop arguing about opinions that won't matter in a week. And you start living with depth, with focus, with discipline. Now, before we go further, if this message is grounding you in the power of Stoic thought, take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your presence helps this community grow and helps you stay aligned with daily mental strength. Let's continue. The sixth lesson, do the work, even when it's hard. Marcus didn't hide from responsibility. He didn't chase comfort. He believed duty was sacred. At dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, I have to go to work as a human being. Not for applause, not for reward, but because work builds character. That's the Stoic view, that each task, however small, is a chance to train excellence. Even in boredom, even in fatigue, even in hardship, you are becoming what you repeatedly do. And Marcus knew this, so he stayed in the arena every day. The seventh lesson, emotions are visitors, not rulers. Marcus felt anger. He felt grief. He felt fear. But he did not bow to them. He watched them. He questioned them. He chose his response. He wrote, "You don't have to turn this into something. It doesn't have to upset you." That's clarity, that's distance, that's mastery. In a world that trains you to react instantly, this is rebellion, to pause, to reflect, to respond on purpose. The 8th lesson, simplify. "Very little is needed to make a happy life," he wrote. In the middle of a palace, with access to everything. He knew that peace doesn't come from excess, it comes from restraint. Most people chase more attention, more things, more noise. But Marcus cut through the illusion. He stripped life to its essentials. Truth, action, integrity. That's what lasts. That's what matters. The 9th lesson, align your actions with nature. Not nature as in trees and rivers, though he revered them, but nature as in your higher self. Your rational, grounded, calm self. Live in accordance with that, and you are free. No matter the conditions around you. Marcus believed that your internal order determines your external power. If you're scattered inside, no success will bring peace. But if you're steady in ceci, no failure can shake you. And finally, the 10th lesson, remember your role in the greater whole. Marcus saw himself as a part of a larger story. He didn't crave control. He embraced service. He asked, "What is not good for the beehive cannot be good for the bee." That's perspective. That's humility. That's legacy. He ruled for nearly 2 decades. He fought wars, faced plagues, bore personal loss, and still, he returned to the page, to examine, to strengthen, to grow. He didn't pretend to have all the answers, but he refused to stop asking better questions. That is the Stoic path. Not perfection, progress, not control over others, mastery over self. Marcus didn't need applause to lead. He didn't need noise to feel powerful. He built his power in silence, in reflection, in practice. Each day he returned to the same truths. You can't control the world, but you can shape your mind. You can't avoid suffering, but you can choose how to meet it. You can't please everyone, but you can live with integrity, and that's enough. He lived by discipline, he ruled by example, and he died with honor. Not because he had no fear, but because he refused to be ruled by it. That's Stoic strength, not in theory, in action. So the next time you feel overwhelmed, return to the teachings of Marcus Aurelius. When life feels unfair, remember, your response is your power. When people disappoint you, expect it and respond with wisdom. When you feel pulled in every direction, pause, simplify, and return to your purpose. The wisdom is ancient, but the practice is daily. And that's what Marcus teaches us most of all. Wisdom is not a quote, it's a habit, and it's forged, one decision at a time. So rise each day with clarity. Return to what matters. Let go of what doesn't. Write if you must, reflect if you can. But above all, act with intention. Live by your principles, not your impulses. Lead yourself first, before trying to lead anyone else. And when doubt comes, as it will, return to Marcus. Not as a monument, but as a mentor. A man who walked the hardest path with the softest wisdom. A man who showed us that true strength isn't domination, it's discipline. And that the greatest empire to rule is your own mind. This is the legacy of Marcus Aurelius, and it's yours to carry forward. Quietly, clearly, powerfully. Live it, own it. One choice at a time, one breath at a time. That is the Stoic way. And it is more than enough. You don't have to rule a kingdom to live like a philosopher. You don't need a throne to practice calm. You just need to begin where you are. To notice what you're thinking. To take responsibility for your actions. To ask each day, what would Marcus do? Not for praise, but for peace. In the stillness of morning. In the tension of conflict. In the fatigue of responsibility. Return to the inner citadel. The place no fear can breach. No insult can shake. No chaos can overwhelm. That is your training ground. That is your temple. And with each decision, you carve a legacy not in stone, but in strength. So carry these lessons and walk forward, steady, unmoved, free, because you are not just surviving, you are refining. You are not just reacting, you are rising, like Marcus did, like a Stoic does. Quiet, disciplined, unshakable. So write your own meditations, not for anyone else, but for your future self, to remember who you chose to be when things got hard, when life felt heavy, when you were tempted to give up. Instead, you sat down, took a breath, and stood back up. That's Stoicism. That's Marcus Aurelius. That's you, becoming stronger than yesterday.